Headphone check. The following episode contains content that isn't suitable for little ears. Please consume with a glass of wine on adult time.
Hey everyone, we're your hosts, Chelsea
And Robin. And this is Don't Mind If We Do. Finally, a relatable podcast for women where we can talk about whatever we want.
Don't mind if we do.
I'm gonna wanna get crazy. Yeah, the thing we behave like you do. Make you. Oh, don't mind if we do.
Intro for Batman.
Hello.
Intro for the Halloween episode, Scary Ghost Stories and Scary Co-Hosts.
This podcast is haunted.
This room, I think, is haunted. We are back with a creepy Halloween episode on Don't Mind If We Do. My co-host, Robin, is gone, and
It's me, Chelsea. Batman.
I am here with Batman.
If you can be Batman, always be Batman.
If you're Batman, does that make me Robin?
You're going as me for Halloween.
Oh, I get it.
Good luck.
Didn't even
You're
put those
too
together.
tall.
Shouldn't you be Robin then, and I could be Batman?
Too predictable. Forget it. Do you dress up for Halloween?
Oh my, not quite like you do.
Okay. What are you gonna
So
wear?
Robin is sitting here. I will share a picture. She's sitting here in a black rubber Batman helmet.
I believe it's called
Mask.
a cowl.
A cowl. And that, along with her voice, is creeping me out.
Good.
Which goes along with this whole episode. So on that note, I'm going to crack my wine because I feel like
You
I'm going to
better
need
start
it.
drinking.
Okay, stop. Stop it. I just want Robin.
Robin's not available
Oh my
today.
word. I'm going to drink this whole bottle.
It's me.
I'm talking to myself. So
do we have?
I'm
What do we
going to
have?
drink. You're not having anything. You've had enough, I think. You're cut off.
Boo.
Yeah. Blackberry wine from Elephant Island again in Naramata Valley.
That's delicious.
It is delicious. So good. It's one of my faves. Picnicking, chill well, and pack lots of wine. Agreed. Fabulous with everything in the basket. May not be for Batman.
Crack it. Batman's into it. I'm super
Batman's
excited.
been into it all morning, I feel.
I'm excited to try this, and I'm excited to have our guest today, Ian Gibbs, who is the author of Victoria's Most Haunted On and Vancouver's Most Haunted. Everywhere is haunted.
I did a ghost tour
Oh.
once with some friends on a bus.
It
A
could have
big
been him.
Greyhound
Was it
I
the
wonder.
John Adams Discover the Past one?
Couldn't even tell you. It was years ago. We were in nursing school,
Okay, that sounds fun.
and we did it. It was on a big bus.
I think it's the Ghost Bus.
Is it?
That's them. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
there were no ghosts on the bus, to be clear.
You don't know
Not
that for
we saw.
sure.
There definitely was no Batman, but
We'll see.
I don't know if I can do this podcast seriously today.
Cheers.
Cheers. We're drinking out of
Happy
paper
Halloween.
cups, so it didn't clink, but
That's true. We're tiny paper cup.
ew, I like it.
Oh, that's delicious.
Isn't
That
that
is delicious.
Stop it.
I can't.
Stop it. Stop it.
No.
I'm going to smack it out of you.
Very good. I like it. It's got like a
It's
sweet
strong.
taste, but also a tart back, on the back end. Is that what I would say? It's tart on the back end.
The backs, I don't know.
Whatever that means.
Don't be perverted, Batman. It's different than the black currant,
I
but
prefer it. I prefer this.
This one?
To the other one. Yeah. Yeah.
I prefer the other one. But they're both sweet, but this tastes a little more alcohol-y.
Boozy. Halloween.
Oh my. Okay, tell us more about our guest.
Yeah.
Actually, in your own voice, though.
Ian Gibbs is the author of Victoria's Most Haunted. It's a critically acclaimed bestseller.
Oh,
It's got a great picture if you ever go to any of the local bookstores, which is definitely where you should try to grab it if you can, of course, to support local. But yeah, he's got copies in every local bookstore. It is one of the bestsellers this time of year, especially. It was the last one. I got it at Russell Books. It was the last one on the shelf. And what I love about it, and we'll talk to Ian more about this, but the way he set it up, a lot of the stories are very short.
They're short. I love it.
Right?
It's like a page or 2 pages.
Exactly. And
That's
there's
the
often
best.
pictures and stuff like that, which is really cool because I don't know about you, but I don't have 6 hours to read a book.
I never do.
Okay.
No, I have 6
So,
hours to watch Netflix, though.
That's
So
true.
if he did a 6-hour Netflix promo, I could watch it. But interesting because it's all the places around town, which is fun.
Right? That's very fun.
Yeah.
And he just launched a new one in Vancouver as well. So if you're over on the mainland, that book literally launched in the last couple of weeks. So he's expanding, which makes him critically acclaimed, which is the
We're
only
gonna
kind of authors
critically
we ever
acclaim
have
him.
on this podcast.
Well, we
So
critically acclaim them. So he isn't yet, but he will be.
don't mind if we do.
Don't mind if we do. Ready to be creeped out?
I don't know. I thought
Is it gonna be creepy?
you picked up your cup, so I
Okay,
was
I'm
like,
ready
ready to do what?
drink
Shots?
more, yeah.
I don't know what to do. Yeah.
Shot. Do it,
3,
Batman.
2, 1, go.
Don't mind if we do talk about ghosts today because they're my favorite thing in the world and they're Chelsea's favorite thing now too. Yeah.
They're your favorite things?
They're
in the world?
they're my favorite thing. Like I
Literally.
want,
Like
yeah.
Kit Kat bar goes second to ghosts.
It's very close. They're very close. They're right up there. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Oh, okay.
We're very excited to chat with ghost story guy Ian Gibbs, author of Victoria's Most Haunted. And now Ian,
Critically acclaimed.
right? Critically acclaimed. As soon as you're on this podcast, so you know you're critically
automatically,
acclaimed.
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I'll put it on the cover. I don't
Acclaim
care.
you.
You
Yeah.
don't even know what it means.
You can just say acclaimed by Don't Mind If We Do, and that's a big deal. In
There you go. There you go.
Ian, you're also hosting a podcast called Ghosts and Bears, which is obviously a podcast about the ghosts of bears, which is the most terrifying of the ghosts, I'm assuming.
That would be a really scary ghost.
Right? Is that what it's about?
Actually, it's ghosts, and my partner and I, like in gay lingo, bears are like heavier set people. Let's go with that. And we host it together. So it's sort of a slash across the whole genre thing. And we went
Like, are you talking about like being curvy?
Yes.
Curvy bears.
Curvy bears. Big dudes
Right.
called bears
The
in the gay
ghosts
world.
of curvy bears.
My favorite.
Right? Those are our
So
favorite.
my
And-
favorite is bears.
And still the point was missed. Okay, excellent.
It's not missed. It wasn't missed at all.
We make our own points,
Yeah.
Ian. That's all we do.
Got it. Okay. I
You
do what
missed
I
our
want.
point.
Ian, I've been checking out your book, and here's why I like it for a few reasons. First of all, it's about ghosts in Victoria. There's also a Vancouver edition, right? If you live over on the
Yeah,
mainland,
just
too.
came
So
out. Just came out.
That's awesome. So it's also short stories, which I do like because ain't nobody got time for reading like 16 pages.
Nobody got
Right?
time to go to school to learn not to say ain't.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't
okay?
nobody got time for that. Yeah.
Words.
And there's history, which I love.
Yeah.
I'm actually a big history buff, so I really like learning the history of places, which I think is fun to know about our city.
I feel like one of the three of us should read one of the short stories.
I think that should be Ian. I think he should
It
tell
should
us
be.
about it.
I just didn't want to say it. Ian, why
Well,
don't you read us
now-
a little story?
I could read it, but I could just tell you a story.
just telling us better.
Tell
Be like-
us. We want to know. First of all, how did you know you were amazing at ghosts? Like, how did that start?
Okay, well, little kid living in England, where I was born, and I would have weird things happen to me in my childhood home, and my parents went the route of, no, you're not. You're imagining it. None of it's real. You're making it up, and that actually wasn't that helpful on my self-esteem.
It's not the best.
but and then when we moved to Canada, we lived in a sort of a weird home. It was quite new, but it had kind of a weird energy to it. And again, it was at that point my parents got super duper religious because Southern Alberta, and at that point it was all very no, it's the devil or that kind of thing. So ironically, it wasn't until I went to Bible school in Toronto that I met other people with the same sorts of senses or whatever you want to call it. And it was like, oh, I'm not crazy. This is a thing. I'm experiencing it. So are other people. It's okay. And that was a huge weight off of me because it was something I didn't want to talk about. I was ashamed about it. I, just kind of kept it quiet. I would meet every once in a while you'd meet a kindred spirit and you'd whisper about ghosts and things you'd experienced. But it was very illicit. And, so it was really great to meet other people who had the same sorts of abilities and had the same sorts of experiences. And that's actually what got me into reading ghost stories was, I mean, most people read them for entertainment. I was reading them for comfort.
Wow.
To know that I wasn't, these things had happened to other people and it wasn't just me, and it was a lot more widespread than you'd think. So I went from that into doing the ghost walks, which I really enjoyed. And I would collect ghost stories anyway, just, mentally. And I just enjoyed them. Same as you, Robin. I just really enjoy ghost stories. And then I was doing the ghost walk, I guess, year 2, and a very nice lady went on the walk and then afterwards was quizzing me about some things. And then she said, do you write the way you talk? And I said, yeah, actually, I've been told that. I hadn't done a lot of writing. And she said, good, because I want a book about Victoria ghosts. And she hands me a business card. And then right away, I'm like, am I going to have to pay to get this published? Is this going to work?
Critically acclaimed.
Exactly. So that was my, it's going to be like some vanity press. But no, it would turn out to be a real thing. Touchwood Editions. They have a wonderful line of books here in Victoria and all throughout Western Canada. And it was a real thing. And so I just sort of took it step by step and got permission from my boss, because of course he's the one who's collected quite a few of the stories. And he was like, oh, it's great. I totally support you, which was really nice to hear. And it just kind of went from there. And then, started a podcast around the same time, a different podcast, left that January and started my own with my partner. So it's been quite the ride. It's been a lot of fun.
So I think I went on a ghost tour with you years ago.
Really?
Or with somebody. It was with some group in Victoria on a bus.
There you go.
Went
On
to
a bus.
buses.
That would be with John or Chris.
Okay.
Is that's the Discover the Past, right?
Yes.
They do the bus tours as well.
Yeah. So they're the ones who are kind of the they're our bosses. They own the company, and they're great. They've done this amazing work for like almost 20 years, I think.
That's incredible.
It's cool to see.
Yeah.
Victoria in a creepy
haunted
way.
Whoa.
I have ghosts in my house.
Do you? I was going to say, how do you know a place is haunted? First of all, let's ask Chelsea how she knows her place is haunted.
Yes, I would love to hear that.
You can weigh in, okay, on whether or not it is.
Love to hear it.
It's not anymore because my friends cleared them. And she said there was 462.
What?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ghosts in here. I don't understand.
Seems like a lot.
It's a lot.
How did you know? Like, what were the
apparently
signs?
have been following me for years, not just in this house. They followed me. And then
why haven't you told me this? Now I'm scared. Ian, get me out of here.
Okay. No, listen, she cleared them and I've never seen them again. And it's been like 3 years.
Hang on. Did you actually see those?
Yeah, you used to see them?
Right?
Well, like shadows of them.
Yeah.
And then one night, this is the creepiest one. It's so creepy. So in my bedroom, down the hall is my son's bedroom.
Right.
So where I had my bed, laying in my bed with my door open, I could see my son's bedroom door.
Right.
It's a straight view to his door. And one night I woke up in the middle of the night and there was like a very large amount of blood dripping down his door and the door frame like just streaming down.
No, there sure was not.
No.
And I have to go.
Darkness all around, like shadows and like, but I sat up and I looked and I watched it until it faded away. I didn't get up and go run and check on him. Like it wasn't a scary thing. It was super weird. I sat up and I watched it until it faded away and was gone. And then I went back to sleep.
That's insane.
Insane. That's just
scared.
one of the things that happened in this house.
Okay, so Ian, that's a good example of when you know something is haunted. Yes?
Oh, I would say yes. I would say that's a solid. When your walls are bleeding, there's something bigger going on than just the plumbing.
God, I did not see that coming. Right? Sorry, Ian, I wasn't prepared for this piece of the podcast.
No, that's amazing.
Not to surprise you.
I know, she really does. And usually there's something, and this was really something.
It was very creepy.
Oh my God.
But not scary. Like I didn't rush to see if he was dead. It wasn't.
There's blood in your walls. How is that not scary?
Dripping down the it was
No.
so gross
Oh my
and
God.
dripping down. But anyways, my girlfriend came over from Vancouver and she sat on the couch and I laughed so hard at her. I'm like, you are ridiculous. She's like, I'm going to do it anyways, even though you don't believe me that I can do this. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to say no because it's getting a little creepy in here. Losing sleep, sitting up, seeing things in my room.
Yeah.
And so she just sat on the couch, broad daylight. She just closed her eyes. And she did all this weird stuff. She's like, yeah, no. And she's talking to them. She's like, yeah, no, there's 230. No, there's 462. And, and then she cleared them. She asked them to leave. And she also asked them to pay her money. $4,000.
Okay.
Wow.
I feel like,
Yeah.
did you end up being stuck with a bill? Like, did they just leave and then stiff you with a bill to pay your friend $1,000?
No, and I've asked her if she's got that money yet, and she hasn't. But since that night, no lie, there has been nothing. Nothing.
Wow.
Video or it didn't happen.
No, and-
Video or it didn't happen.
Well,
that
this
what-
is the thing, though. Now, I know it sounds extreme that you saw your door bleeding and then you just rolled over and went back to sleep. But you know what? The interesting thing is I've heard so many ghost stories. And the interesting thing is a lot of people do just that. And I have done that twice in my life.
No.
I've experienced
How
something
do
because you just don't know what else to do. What are you going to
Oh
do?
my
Run out
God.
into the night screaming?
I
That
would be
doesn't seem a
running and
viable
burning
option.
down my own home, Ian. Like, I would be running into the street
At
as
the very
throwing
least,
fire.
checking on the child behind the bleeding
Even
door.
just
Well,
something,
there's that.
anything.
Yes, I suppose. No children were harmed in any of my
No
stories.
children
but,
were
you know.
harmed in this one either.
You
It
parent
was
the way
very
you
sad.
parent. I'm never going to question that.
Do you?
Oh my God, that's the best. Ian, what are some other signs? Maybe that's a very clear sign that your house is haunted. But how do you know that your house is haunted? Like, what are some other signs that are maybe a little bit more, I don't know, subtle?
A little subtle. Well, see, that's the thing. Most of them are pretty subtle. That's the
We
that
don't
was
do
a bit.
subtle in this house.
That's a bit more rock and roll. Yours was
Go big or go
More
home
hardcore.
around here. Oh
yeah,
my
no,
God.
go big, go home. I think
please go home.
people kind of know the shadow thing for sure. You catch a shadow in the corner of your eye, and there is a really interesting phenomenon attached to this called COTEP, corner of the eye phenomena, and it's believed, or there's a theory that we have better and different senses on our peripheral vision than on our straight ahead vision. And that was, of course, to protect us from, cougar attacks or any kind of animal coming at us. So that's how we sort of evolution kind of took care of us there. But we still have those senses. And so people often will say, well, I thought I saw something in the corner of my eye, but when I looked at it, there's nothing there. And it's like, That's because your brain isn't wired to look at it directly on. So you did see something, but it's a lot easier for most of us to just go, oh, well, guess I imagined it, than it is to go, well, damn, that was
I'll
creepy.
just roll over and go back to bed. Never
So-
mind a bleeding
Mine is
wall.
wired to look straight on, apparently.
Yes, no,
I don't
and hey, you know what? At least you got it. I don't know. I don't even know what to say to you about that. I'm impressed you're still in the house. So
Same.
I'm still
Yeah,
alive.
why would she invite me here, Ian? Right?
maybe you're a sacrifice.
Oh my God. Is that a thing? I have to go again. I've left 7 times already during this podcast episode. I'm still here though, Ian. I'm still here. Okay?
You said ghost stories were your favorite.
They are, but now they're too scary.
Now they're too real.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
You
so
like the
look-
ones where the old man wanders the halls.
Yeah.
No, okay. So shadows for sure. Number one, I would say. Number two, unexplained noises. That's the thing I've experienced most in my life has been the thumping, the bumping, or even in the house I'm in now, which is built in 83. It's not an old house, but we do have indigenous history on the land. And I remember being home all by myself. My partner was up north working. We did not have any pets at the time. And I'm in bed reading, because I do that every night to get my brain to shut off. And as I'm reading, I hear the hangers in the closet start clinking together as if someone's, kind of running their hands up and down them. And I remember looking over the closet and I'm like, huh. And then it was that same thing. It was like, well, nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to go to sleep.
Oh
And
my,
that,
what is with you
Just
two?
changing. Whatever.
well, because what are you going to do? What are you going to do, really?
Turn
What are
on
you
the
going to do?
light. That's what I normally do, is turn on the light. And
Well, I
then
had the
I'll go
light
to
on because
Okay.
I was reading, but I
Okay.
wasn't going to leave the light on all night. I thought, well, if they're going to kill me, they kill me. I've had a good time.
And there's the reality, right? I guess if you're going to die at that point, you're already dead, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hide behind a door from them.
That's
They're
fair.
going to get you regardless.
Exactly.
Oh, so
yeah.
scary.
No, it is. It's interesting. And then the other thing, people will experience things moving around or going missing and then reappearing later. And you will hear really, really distinct sounds, like certain doors opening and closing, and you know which door it is by the sound it makes. Like you just kind of know because you live in the house, and things like that. Those are, I would say, the most common. When you start seeing, full on things, or, sometimes occasionally people can get scratched or marked by something. That's not great. That would, I've only ever heard things, and then I've gotten, like I said, those sort of impressions. I describe it like getting pictures shoved up through the back of my head, and all of a sudden I kind of know what's going on and what's happening. And
Better than shoved up somewhere else, I guess.
that would be disturbing. Oh, goodness.
Whoa.
Was not ready for that.
Look at that guy.
There's been a lot of things this podcast episode that I have not been ready for, Ian, and those were two of them. Okay, that's all. Oh my gosh, Ian, we want you to share a few of your favorite ghost stories. What's your goriest one? I feel like that's we want to know.
Goriest. That would be, well, it's a well-known one, and we actually tell on the Halloween walks, which I'm currently doing this week. Agnes Bings. Do you know about Agnes Bings?
No, tell us.
Oh, it's gory.
In my house.
It's gory. Probably. Yeah, she's probably had a room there. Agnes was from the 1890s. She was quite unusual for her time. She had, Paboom down on Wharf Street?
Yeah.
Okay, that used to be the Pilgrim Bakery, and that was Agnes's bakery. Agnes, her husband was quite sick, so he stayed home, took care of the kids, and they had one child, and then Agnes was in charge of the bakery, and she would often get off work quite late, and if she did, it meant the streetcar wasn't running, and that was bad news for her because it was about a 45-minute walk. Otherwise, she'd hop on the electric streetcar, go over the Ellis Bridge, which we call the Bay Street Bridge, and she'd go home to her house in Vic West. However, one night she did get off late, and it was literally a dark and stormy night in November of 1890, and she decided to take what was known as the shortcut. Nope.
Can't take a shortcut, Ian.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. The shortcut was what we call the Johnson Street Bridge, but at the time it was just a railway track. There was no handrails, no nothing, just a railway track across the water. And sailors, enjoying Lower Johnson Street's delights, which was the red light district in that time, would get super drunk and then wander off and of course die because they'd fall off the bridge. But Agnes must have thought, you know what, it's worth it. I got to go. I don't want to have a 40-minute walk in this storm. So she headed out. Now, when she didn't show up, her husband called for the police. They came, found out she actually had a legitimate business in that part of town, and went back down there. And then they started interviewing people, and they discovered two people who said, yes, we saw her go across the shortcut. And they thought, oh, okay, well, we know what happened to her. It was getting close to dawn. They roped themselves together, grabbed some lanterns, and headed out over that rail track very carefully. And they're looking in the water for, swirling hair, billowing skirts, something that's going to show them where she ended up. But they get all the way across, and there's nothing. They don't find anything. So they end up going a little further, and they're now in the rail yards pretty deep. And then one of them notices a tree covered in crows. It's quite, they're swooping up and down. They're quite loud because at this point the sun is coming up. And that's, what they call in the police business a clue. So they head on over to see, and they do find, here's your gore trigger warning. I'm telling you now, they do find, unfortunately, Agnes, she has been strangled and stripped. She's been cut from her throat all the way to her navel. She's been opened up, and her organs have been placed around her in an almost decorative fashion.
Oh my God.
So the police are concerned about this. I mean, for a couple of reasons. Number one, ew.
Concerned? Concerning?
Yeah, concerning. And number two, and I know you guys are going to know this, number two, there was someone killing very similar fashion only 11 years earlier in London. You want to guess?
Oh, Jack the Ripper.
There you go. I knew you'd know. Yeah, you dirty person.
You're old.
We had Jack the Ripper go. Yeah, because she was there.
I'm not old, actually. I am a ghost.
Yeah.
I survived all this time.
So, of course, this is where the newspapers went, was, Ripper in the New World, Jack walks among us, calming everyone right down. Everyone was, oh, yeah, that's cool. No, it was awful. There was there was a curfew put on. People didn't go out after 9 o'clock. Like people were
It's similar to COVID.
Similar to
Yeah.
COVID.
exactly, but with more knives. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay,
So
got it.
More blood.
people are full on panicked, and the police couldn't figure it out. They brought in special guards from the States, detectives to figure it out. They couldn't do it. They brought in a psychic who was unfortunately not very helpful. But she did talk to the newspapers, and she said, he's killed before and he'll kill again, calming everyone down. So very soon after that, people were spotting what they called the Gray Lady over on that edge of the water over by the Delta Ocean Point. They would see her around Palazzas Rock, where the totem pole is now. And that place was actually revered by the indigenous people as a place of power. They would put their babies out on Palazzas Rock to absorb power. So it's interesting that she would appear there. It wasn't really a big deal until they started building the Delta Ocean Point. And then it got a little more intense because construction workers were cutting through the lobby area. And if they stopped in one sort of section, they would full on start to have a panic attack. Like ambulances were called. They thought these poor men were having heart attacks. But when they would get out of that area, they were fine. But the other thing, it was their power tools with battery packs on them would just drain. And now, of course, it's not.
Power tools.
Yeah.
Battery powered tools.
There you go. I should have known you'd jump on
See what's
that.
happening? You see what's
No, I
happening?
know what's happening.
Don't
I
let
know what's
that
happening.
surprise you. Yeah.
No, I don't. I've had a lot of drunk people on my tours. I know how to handle this.
That's probably me.
That's right. So then we had the other side of things was the hotel. Now, of course, it's tourists going through there. And while they're not hanging out in the lobby, they are certainly having cell phones. And that is its own little reward when you walk through and you think your cell phone's fully charged and then it's completely dead.
And this is at the Delta?
Yeah.
We should
So-
go there.
Yeah. I just was there.
We should do our own
We
investigation.
should. We'll do our own ghost tour.
Oh, I'm sure they'd love you guys tromping around the lobby. sloshing
We're
wine
a
everywhere.
competitive ghost tour now,
Sloshing
Ian.
wine.
Yeah,
This is
we're-
what he thinks of us.
Yeah.
Sloshing wine.
We're a
everywhere.
drunk ghost tour now.
Ian,
Okay.
we don't slosh wine. We drink it.
You drink it. How dare you accuse me of wasting wine? Right?
Amateurs over here.
It's the ghost of wine bottles past.
It wasn't blood on the door. It was wine.
Ah!
And you'd throw him the bottle there in some drunken rage. Yeah. And then you came
That's
to.
normal. She was just drunk and she woke up and then went back to bed. Yeah.
Weird.
Oh, right. I have a kid. Oh, well. Sure, he's fine.
Oh my God,
This is getting
Seth.
off track.
Ian, you brought up something though in that story. You brought up the Ellis Point Bridge, which we all know is the Bay Bridge. But
Yes.
on that bridge, there was one of like the greatest disasters of all time, right?
It was actually the biggest and still is the biggest disaster loss of life on public transportation in North America. I mean, that's crazy that
Wait,
that
are we
happened.
done talking about Agnes?
I think so. Is Agnes over?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want more? I don't know what else to
Who
tell you.
killed her? Was it a ghost?
Oh,
Or she's a ghost?
no, great point. They never did figure out who killed her.
Oh, so she's
Um,
the ghost.
she's
the
the
dark
ghost.
lady.
Yeah.
gray
She's the
lady.
ghost, the gray lady, and she does still appear, especially during like stormy winter kind of times. People will see
stormy
the gray
today.
lady out there.
We should
Yeah.
go
so-
down
And
there.
have they seen Jack the Ripper or no? That's for sure
No.
done. Okay,
No,
got
No,
it.
that one, I think that was, but see, this is the thing. I mean, it sounds insane to us that they'd be like, oh, it's Jack the Ripper. But realistically, the British police, honestly, that was their theory, was because serial killers don't wake up one morning and go, I think I'm done being murdery. I'm going to raise orchids. Like, that's not how that happens, right? Like,
No.
Like,
you either get
probably
caught or you're
like
killed.
drain
And
test,
so
maybe, but
they thought he went to Australia or perhaps North America. They weren't really sure.
is he dead or alive?
As far as
Or
I know at
we
this
don't
point,
know.
he would be very dead. I
Please be
mean,
dead.
1880s.
Oh, 18.
Please
Yeah,
be
he's
dead.
Probably
Okay.
dead, but
Right.
probably
Okay.
a ghost on your
Yeah. He's probably a dead ghost. He'll have his own movie franchise pretty soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Critically acclaimed. Yeah.
Critically
I'm not-
acclaimed.
I'm not familiar with Jack the Ripper, obviously.
Obviously, it's time for you to look it up
I will.
immediately.
I will.
Okay. That's-
He was a very bad man, and I promise you, if you Google Jack the Ripper, you're going to have more information than you're going to know too.
Like worse than Dahmer.
In a weird way, I wouldn't say worse. He was very different, but he absolutely terrorized London, and he went for the most the most vulnerable people, sex workers and that kind of thing. And the scary thing for London was that they thought he might actually be one of the higher classes. There was rumors it was royalty. At one point they said it was a doctor surgeon. Like it was
Makes sense.
pretty intense. Yeah.
It's white collar
Cutting up people.
serial killer.
Right?
And that was what made it so different.
Yeah.
Because of the way the killings have been done and because of the ritual almost involved, it really freaked people out because it was just so different and so scary. And again, going after the most vulnerable.
Okay, I'm good with Agnes. now.
Okay, you're
Thank
good
you
with
for
that?
clearing it up. I just wasn't sure.
No, not at all. I forgot
Yes,
to
it
mention
was.
that there was never another murder that happened
Like
in that
that?
way. Yeah, no,
Huh.
not in Victoria. But yeah, no one was ever, there's never any kind of capture
did it
or
to
solving
herself.
or it's still an open case.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it has to
Cold
be because there
case.
was never any, because a cold case.
Let's
Let's
start
reopen
a
it.
podcast to open up the Agnes cold case.
Okay.
There you go.
River.
Ian,
We're gonna
we're
solve
gonna need
it.
your help.
Do you want to
okay?
be on another podcast?
Yeah.
And you're not going to stop until justice is
Until
served.
justice is served.
And we're gonna slosh the
Or
shit out
until
of
we
our
get
wine.
served some wine at
Right.
the bar.
We're gonna
At
slosh
the
it
Delta.
and then we're gonna nail it.
Oh my gosh.
That's podcast.
Hashtag slush it and nail it. That's our
There you go.
hashtag.
There you go.
That's fine.
Perfect.
Okay, back on track.
Okay, let's go back to the base.
Point Ellis Bridge.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is actually one of my favorite stories because of the unbelievable comedy errors that went on with this thing. So May 26, 1896, it was a wonderful celebratory day. They're celebrating Queen Victoria's birthday, so obviously a huge deal in Victoria. The most exciting thing that was going on was a military exhibition at Macaulay Point. And there was, vendors and there's games and they were going to do a mock battle. Like everyone wanted to be there. And they knew this. The streetcar company knew this. So they were just hammering all their streetcars to take people to Macaulay Point because it was across classes, which was unusual. Everybody wanted to be there. So getting from downtown Victoria to Macaulay Point meant hopping on the streetcar on Government Street, going a short way along Wharf, and then you went over the Point Ellis Bridge. It was built in 1885, the original bridge. Streetcars began going across the bridge in 1890, but the bridge was originally built for horse carts and pedestrians, not heavy streetcars. The city was aware of this, and in 1892, they sent surveyors. Now, this is so great. They sent surveyors and repairmen in boats to drill holes in the bridge pilings above and below the waterline to check the condition of the wood. They found the wood was in bad shape and needed to be replaced, not just repaired. 4 years later, nothing had been done, and the holes they had drilled had not been filled or repaired. So, of course, it made the rotting happen even quicker. People continued to report that the bridge would sag whenever a streetcar went across, but these reports were ignored and the streetcars continued to cross the bridge.
No.
Yes. There were two kinds of streetcars. There was one that held like 25 people and one that was supposed to carry up to 55 people. And of course, they were also supposed to only have one streetcar on the bridge at a time. But hey, it's Victoria Day. So at 1:40 p.m. on May 26th, the city's inaction finally came with a price. Car number 6, one of the older, smaller, and lighter streetcars, made its way safely across the bridge. As soon as it reached the other side, streetcar number 16, one of the larger, heavier new cars, began crossing. The car was built to carry a maximum of 55 people, but was actually carrying 140 people that day.
Oh,
Nope.
it's quite a
Yeah.
bit. More.
The car had gone about a quarter of the way across the bridge when the bridge began to sway. The streetcar pressed on, as you do, and the swaying increased. And then there was a terrifying crack and the bridge dropped about half a meter. The streetcar kept going because, quite frankly, if I was that engineer, I'd be like, gun it! I'd be channeling every Dukes of Hazzard gene I had in me. When it reached the center of the Point Ellis Bridge, an even louder crack was heard throughout the harbor, and the entire center span of the bridge broke. The streetcar plunged into the water, landing on its side. And as if that wasn't bad enough, because of course, I don't know if you've seen a streetcar, but the windows are not big. You're not getting out easy.
Nope.
So it plunged in on its side. It's packed full of people. And then even if people were able to get out, a few minutes later, the main tracks and the rest of the span fell on top of the streetcar, trapping and killing even more people, including some who'd managed to survive the first part of the disaster.
Oh my God.
Right? Some lucky ones benefited from the rest of the bridge collapsing because it hit the streetcar with such force that it pushed them out through the broken windows. When it fell, the streetcar landed on some of the wooden ironwork that had broken off the bridge when it first cracked. So the car was actually pierced when it landed in the water, and then debris crushed even more of the car as the rest of the bridge landed on top of it. Boats that had been cruising around the harbor saw what was going on. They hurried to the disaster, and many people were saved because there were so many pleasure boats out because of the holiday. In all, 55 people died in the disaster and 27 were seriously injured. The rescue effort, of course, soon became a recovery mission, with bodies being laid up on the beautiful lawns of Point Ellis House. They were using tablecloths, curtains, anything they could find to shroud the victims. And it is still, as I said, one of the worst streetcar disasters, public transportation disasters in North American history. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The city of Victoria and the streetcar company were both found negligent. What?
Surprise!
Yeah, right? The streetcar company for overloading the car, and the city for knowing the bridge was unsafe and making it more unsafe and doing nothing about it. The compensation they were ordered to pay rendered the streetcar company bankrupt, and the city was almost broke for the next 4 years. The story was in the newspaper for months, and there was not a single family in Victoria that had not in some way been affected by this tragedy. It seems that some people still aren't quite ready to give up looking for their loved ones. Here's where it gets ghostly. They are not going to let a small consideration such as time have any bearing on whether or not they keep looking. In the 1890s, the banks of the gorge were lined with big, beautiful homes. Now the only house left in that area is the Point Ellis house. The rest of the property line in the waterway has given way to industrial properties and warehouses, except for the other side where they have that big condo development.
Yes.
If you go down the Galloping Goose, which runs on the old rail line from downtown out to the other municipalities, part of the trail goes under the new improved Point Ellis Bridge. We called the Bay Street Bridge, and I did forever, until one day I actually read the little name on the bridge, and it is still called the Point Ellis Bridge, which I thought was really interesting. If you go down the Galloping Goose Trail on a quiet night and stop just across from the old pilings, because they are still there for the old bridge, you may see proof of loved ones still searching. If you sit quietly and let the atmosphere take over, you'll feel an eeriness surround you. And if you look where the doomed bridge span once was, you may see some tiny lights. Some are yellow, some are red. They can be seen drifting over the surface of the water. They trail back and forth over pretty much just one spot. Car lights don't reach that spot, nor do street lights. It's simply an unexplained anomaly. After the bridge fell, many people were not recovered until the next day. But through the night, there were boats full of searchers going back and forth over the sunken streetcar with lanterns attached to their small boats. Many who witnessed the lights said you can even hear sort of soft sighing noises that seem to go with the lights in their motion. Are these the sighs of the rescuers slowly giving up hope, or the sighs of the dead who congregate around you, watching their searchers, knowing there's nothing left to look for?
I have goosebumps right now.
Going for a walk tonight.
It's a brutally sad story, and it was such a preventable thing. But you know what's interesting? We don't do that story on this Halloween walk. We're not doing that one this year. But I was walking with a group, and we were waiting at a light, and one man said to me, "Hey, do you know anything about the weird lights near the Bay Street Bridge?" And I looked at him, and I'm like, "What?" And he had not read my book or anything like that. He goes, "Yeah, I've seen them a few times. I live in the rail yards." And I'm like, "Well, yes, I do." So I love that. Story. Yeah, but I love it when that happens, because it backs up, kind of like what we already know. And then there's this kind of cold proof to it. So I love
There's like 55 ghosts in that area on the Galloping Goose.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And is that Point Ellis house, like, is there a lot of activity? I'm assuming
there's a lot of ghosts in Point Ellis house. Like the family fought so hard to keep that house. And I don't know all the details. It's not one I've done a lot of research on because it was so well known. But the family fought so hard to keep it that apparently one of the Ellises, she wears a blue dress, and she will actually take people around the house, and they won't know it's a ghost. They will think it's like someone dressed in green.
What?
Yeah.
And it's
she's
herself.
shown up a lot. Yeah. She's shown up a few times to different people. Yeah. And apparently another one, a couple were looking for a place to camp out overnight. They were traveling, and they camped out on the lawns of Point Ellis house, and they were run off in the middle of the night by something yelling and pounding their tent. And of course they get out. There's no one around, like nothing. So they were like, okay, time to go.
Time to not trespass.
Haunted!
Yeah, apparently they're still very, very possessive of their home.
Where is that? I don't know.
Point Ellis house. It's right in the industrial district. It's in a way, it's a little bit sad because the industrial district is grown up literally all the way around it. But you can have tea in the garden, and in the summer, and you can tour through the house.
It's
a really
like
neat-
right underneath almost the Bay Street Bridge, right? If you were coming from
Yeah.
the in-town way, it's just down to the right-hand side. Does that make sense? Like if you were
Yeah.
if you were going across into Vic West, it's
Yeah.
just down the bridge to the right. There's only one little house there, and everything else is right next to where all those the cars are piled up, right? Like an old junkyard. of
If you
cars.
turn right at Moon Underwater,
Yes.
you know, and right in there, you turn right and go along that road, you will come to Poinel's house. And part of it is still unpaved. The road is still unpaved there. It's really interesting.
Wow.
Very cool place.
I like blue dresses.
I'm so scared now.
Go for tea. Let me know what happens.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Very
we're
cool.
going because ghosts are Robin's favorite.
It's my favorite,
So-
except that I'm also terrified.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. Yeah.
Well, see, there's the irony. I don't go looking for ghosts. I mean, a lot of people who are into this are ghosts, you know, ghost hunters or paranormal investigators. I am not. I never will be. I don't want anything coming home with me. I don't go looking for it.
You don't want them coming home with you.
I
That's
don't.
fair.
I don't. And I've heard that. I've heard that from a few investigators. So it's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. You guys keep your ghosts. I'll just give stories about them. I like you, Robin. I love history, and I think having a ghost story to wrap around history is a bit like chocolate coating it a little bit. You know, like it makes it kind of more palatable for some people.
It's like a Reese's peanut butter cup. That's what I'm hearing.
right. You get the
Yeah.
peanut butter nugget, and then
Yeah.
you cover it in chocolate, and it's just delicious together. So
But what about the one
Right
that
now
has
I'm
the
hungry.
Reese's Pieces in the
Oh my God, Ian,
What
have
is
you
that?
had those
Little
Reese's
ghost?
Pieces peanut butter cups with
I actually
Reese's
have.
Pieces
They're
in it,
amazing.
right?
I have some at work, and I have to like lock them up for me, like not from other people, from me. So yeah.
Oh my
You
gosh.
guys sound very similar.
Right? We're the same. Ian, we're the same. Okay, except
Yeah.
that you're more versed in the way of ghosts, and I'm just more surprised by ghosts and scared of them. So that's all. Yeah.
Well, that's no bad thing.
Oh my gosh. Victoria's Most Haunted is the book by Ian Gibbs. There's probably only one left. I got mine at Russell Books. There was only one copy left.
Holy
because
cow.
it's
It's
super
because
popular.
you're critically acclaimed.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. Hey,
It's
you know
the
what?
best
It is in its third printing, which I'm pretty proud of. I'm pretty.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
huge.
When
And then-
the book was published, I was like, as long as I don't end up in the bargain bin, I'll be happy. So that was literally my only goal, was to not end up in the
I
bargain
paid $15.99.
Holy
Beautiful.
Right? Oh my
I
gosh.
love having famous people on our
I'll
show.
see almost
That's
35
fun.
cents of that. So that's exciting.
Wow.
But of course, you
That's
can get it
not
at any local bookstore, right, Ian? Like that's
Yeah,
the best
and for
place to
sure
get
do
these.
that. I mean, Amazon's great, but if you can hit up a local bookstore, absolutely. And you know, if people have the book and they want it signed, just come find me on a ghost walk. Like I'm on social media, Ghost Story Guy, you know, for my Instagram and stuff.
Is
Like hit
that
me up.
another 35 cents though to get it signed?
Not if you bring your own pen.
It's 25.
And some hand sanitizer for after. Okay.
Exactly. Bring your own pen and hand sanitizer, and I will sign your book for free. Yeah.
Podcast. Ian Gibbs, you also have a podcast, Ghosts and Bears, stories about the ghosts of bears, but also what I did actually look at some of the episodes, and you don't have to have an old house to have ghosts, and this is proof with Chelsea's story too, right? Like
12 years old.
there's even a story about the West Hills, like the West
Yes.
Hills have ghosts as well.
And
These
did
folks
you?
followed me? She said they followed me.
And that
They're
happens.
haunted. Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard that. 100%.
collect
Seriously.
Ghosts. I'm a ghost hoarder.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you're a
I
ghost
collect
hoarder.
them.
I have to say, over 400 seems a little excessive. Like, I think maybe you've got a problem at that point.
I felt like I had a problem for sure.
Rolling in ghosts. Okay.
Rolling in ghosts.
It's been cleared.
Oh
so-
my gosh. But yeah, younger communities can have them as well, Ian.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
That just happens. Okay.
Well, that's the history of the land, right? Like that's where that comes from. And interestingly, since that episode went out, I've had two separate ladies who live in West Hills get in touch with me and say, we have both had haunted activity in our house and we live here too. So it's like, okay, good to know. So I'd love to do a follow-up on that. I said to them, hey, can you give me some details? We'd love to have you on, but yeah, as
you can
usual.
have my house now in your book if you want to. Put
Excellent.
It there. That's fine.
She's going to charge you 35 cents though.
Exactly.
50 cents? 'Cause,
Yeah, 50
35 's
cents.
Not quite enough.
Yeah, I'm not giving it away here. I'm not giving it away.
Oh, Ian, you're the best.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Give it
Pick up the books from Ian Gibbs. GhostStoryGuy.com is the website. Ghosts and Bears is the podcast. Anything else, Ian? What's your address to come get Halloween candy this weekend?
Yeah, no. We live on a quiet quiet haunted cul-de-sac. No one ever comes up here, and we don't have sidewalks, so we don't even bother. I just buy the candy and eat it and tell people it's for kids.
Maybe
I
that'll
just
come
made
to
myself
fruition.
completely exposed myself to the selfish monster I am. You know what? I have to tell you one thing that happened that was funny this week. I was complaining about Halloween, and it gets super busy, and plus promoting the new book and all that stuff. And my friend goes, "Oh, so you're a seasonal celebrity?" And I said, I went, "Yeah." I said, "I'm like Santa, but with pumpkins, but I'm still fat." So,
No!
it doesn't always work out so hot, I guess.
Ian, you are the best. Thank you.
Well,
for
thank
joining
you
us.
so much for having me on, you guys. Hey, anytime. Seriously, you guys are a blast to talk to.
Okay,
So
next
anytime
episode
you
we'll do it
need.
again.
It'll be
You
next Halloween because, like you said, you're a seasonal celebrity.
Exactly. And I accept that. I embrace it.
You
I
won't be
embrace
cool
it.
till next year, but
That's exactly
I'll have
it.
you back.
Are
That's
there
100%.
Christmas ghosts? Maybe we should have you on at Christmas.
There
Are
is a
ghosts of
Christmas. You know what?
past?
Of course.
We have a Christmas ghost walk, but interestingly enough, in England, in the Victorian times, Christmas was the only time they told ghost stories. So that's actually going to be one of our Ghosts and Bears episodes. We're going to read some old, scary Victorian ghost stories because that was a Christmas thing. So it's kind of cool.
So we will have you back this Christmas.
Yes.
I would love to
Can you
do
also
some
be-
Victorian ghost stories for you.
Yeah,
Maybe we
critically
could walk
acclaimed.
and do it
Oh,
on the podcast.
Perfect.
can we walk and do that with you? Can you take us on a walk? Because we have
Sure.
the ability
We are
when
mobile.
it's working.
Yeah.
We
When it's
can-
working.
When it's
Yeah.
working, that we can actually be mobile with our podcast. So
Yeah, me too. So no, that'd be cool. That'd be fun. That'd be
Okay,
a blast.
We're doing it.
You know what we could do? We could do a joint thing where you're on my podcast, I'm on your podcast, and we
Yes.
just release
Yes.
I'll
it.
show you mine if you show me yours.
Dirty girl.
I don't want to see yours. Yours are haunted. Ian Gibbs.
Thank you
Woo!
guys.
Thank you so much.
Have an amazing Halloween, and thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ian. You're the
Bye.
best. Bye.
Don't Mind If We Do is brought to you by Vintage Chic Portrait, helping everyday women feel beautiful in their own skin.
Thanks for listening to Don't Mind If We Do. If you loved it, please share this episode with a friend and follow us and check us out on Facebook, and we'll follow you back. As long as you don't mind if we do.
You probably won't mind. You'll probably like it.